My sister stole every guy I dated for years. So, I introduced her to someone who destroyed her life. I was cursed with a built-in boyfriend thief the day my younger sister Chloe was born. And I'm not talking about borrowed sweaters or innocent crushes. I mean the kind of theft where if I brought home a boyfriend, she'd have him wrapped around her finger within weeks. If I introduced someone at Sunday brunch, she'd already be sliding into his DMs before the pancakes were finished. If I posted a cute couple photo on Instagram, she'd somehow bump into him at his favorite sports bar the next day. Everyone always said Chloe got mom's stunning looks while I inherited dad's sharp intellect. The comparison stung, but I learned to live with it until the boyfriend stealing started. It began innocently enough in high school. My boyfriend Trevor suddenly wanted to study at our house every afternoon in Phoenix. Chloe would float by in her volleyball uniform, asking him to help with her calculus homework. I didn't see the manipulation then because I trusted them both completely. But looking back, the signs were flashing neon bright. By the time we hit our 20s, Chloe's tactics became surgical in their precision. I dated Cameron for 6 months before bringing him to meet the family. 1 week after that disastrous dinner, Chloe had a crisis and needed his broad shoulders to cry on at 2 o'clock in the morning. They slept together that same night. Then came Alex from my marketing agency. Same playbook, family dinner, manufactured emergency, midnight comfort session. When I discovered their steamy text messages, she had the audacity to tilt her head and smile sweetly. "I'm just making sure they're worthy of you, Lauren," she said, batting her eyelashes. Alex failed the test miserably. Deep down, I had to admit she had a point. If these men would abandon me for my sister so easily, maybe they weren't my soulmates after all. But that logic did nothing to heal the betrayal burning in my chest. Then came Derek, the one who nearly broke me. We'd been together for 2 years, talking seriously about marriage after I finished my nursing degree. Chloe got wasted at his birthday party, the one I'd planned for weeks, and kissed him right in front of everyone at Chili's. When he chose her over me, she had the nerve to post on Facebook, "Sometimes you can't help who you fall for. Too bad, so sad." Mom cornered me at Thanksgiving, her voice sharp as the carving knife. "You need to stop parading these men in front of Chloe," she hissed while stirring the gravy. "She can't control herself when you dangle temptation right under her nose. Why do you keep setting her up to fail?" In my mind, I hadn't been dangling anything. I'd been trying to build meaningful relationships only to watch them crumble under my sister's relentless charm offensive. 3 months later, everything changed when I met Connor at my college roommate's wedding in Austin. Connor was everything I'd ever dreamed of wrapped in a 6 feet 2 inches package. Kind, successful as a software engineer, and apparently immune to female manipulation. For 8 blissful months, I kept him completely secret from my family. We drove to neighboring towns for dates, avoided posting couple photos, and I told absolutely no one about him. I thought I'd finally outsmarted Chloe's boyfriend-stealing operation. This was the healthiest, most genuine relationship I'd ever experienced. Connor talked about our future with such certainty that I started believing in happy endings again. We spent weekends at his lake house in Lake Havasu, talking for hours about everything and nothing. He made me laugh until my sides hurt and supported my dreams of opening my own tutoring center. Connor was different from the others. He listened when I talked about my work, remembered small details about my day, and never once made me feel like I was competing for his attention. When he looked at me, I felt like I was the only woman in the world. We talked about moving in together, about the little house with the white picket fence we'd buy someday, about the golden retriever we'd adopt and name Murphy. But then my loose-lipped cousin Amanda accidentally mentioned Connor to Mom during a phone call, who naturally mentioned him to Chloe within hours. My sister's detective skills rivaled the FBI. She tracked him down through his company's LinkedIn page within days, studied his social media, learned his routines. The betrayal hit me like a freight train when I used my key to enter Connor's apartment and found them tangled together in our bed. The worst part wasn't catching them in the act. It was Chloe's reaction. She sat up completely naked and utterly shameless and delivered the killing blow. "Honestly, I did you a huge favor," she said, gathering her clothes with zero remorse. "He barely lasted 10 minutes. You deserve so much better than that, sis." Connor just shrugged, not even bothering to cover himself. "Your sister's way too hot for me not to try. You understand, right?" I stood there trembling with rage and humiliation while Chloe kissed him goodbye like I was invisible, like I was nothing more than furniture in the room. That soul-crushing moment crystallized everything for me. Chloe didn't steal my boyfriends out of sisterly protection or innocent attraction. She did it because she could, because she enjoyed watching me crumble, because destroying my happiness had become her twisted hobby. Walking to my Toyota Camry in the parking lot, my hand shaking so badly I could barely grip the keys, I made a decision that would change everything. Chloe craved men she couldn't resist. Fine. I'd give her exactly what she wanted, wrapped in a package that would destroy her from the inside out. The plan started forming during the 40-minute drive home through Phoenix traffic. Chloe always went for the same type, gorgeous, charming, seemingly successful men who made her feel chosen and special. She never looked deeper than the surface. Never questioned their stories or backgrounds. That blind spot would be her downfall. I spent the next few weeks diving deep into public records, court databases, and background check websites. My nursing training had taught me to be methodical, to gather all the facts before making a diagnosis. This was no different. I was diagnosing the perfect predator for my predatory sister. That's how I discovered Vincent Romano, a stunningly handsome man who claimed to be a venture capitalist from Denver. Recently divorced after his ex-wife documented years of financial and emotional abuse in court filings. 2 separate restraining orders from other ex-girlfriends. Currently under investigation for securities fraud by the Colorado Attorney General's office. Perfect. Vincent's LinkedIn profile painted him as a successful entrepreneur, complete with professional headshots that could have landed him modeling contracts with Calvin Klein. But digging deeper revealed the truth, a sophisticated con artist who specialized in manipulating women into financial ruin. His MO was always the same: target vulnerable women, love bomb them, isolate them from support systems, then systematically drain their finances while making them feel grateful for the privilege. The court documents were a goldmine of information. His ex-wife Jennifer described how he'd convinced her to liquidate her retirement accounts to invest in his fake ventures. How he'd gradually isolated her from friends and family, making her completely financially dependent on him. How he'd used emotional manipulation and gaslighting to make her believe she was worthless without him. I created a fake LinkedIn profile as Sarah Mitchell, a potential investor from a family trust fund. I reached out to him with a business proposal about investing in tech startups. We agreed to meet at Starbucks in downtown Denver, where I played the role of vulnerable older sister perfectly. I showed him Chloe's Instagram photos, gushing about how she always stole my boyfriends because she was so irresistibly beautiful. I just can't compete with her, I said, letting my voice crack with practiced emotion. Every guy I've ever loved ends up choosing her instead. I feel so worthless. Vincent's eyes lit up like a predator spotting wounded prey. He saw exactly what I wanted him to see, a broken woman he could easily manipulate, with a gorgeous sister who represented the ultimate trophy. "You seem like an incredible person, Lauren," he said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "Any man who would leave you for someone else is an idiot." Hook, line, and sinker. But the real game was just beginning. We started dating immediately, with me playing the part of the smitten girlfriend while Vincent laid the groundwork for his usual con. He love-bombed me with expensive dinners at the Capitol Grill, weekend trips to Vail, and promises of a future together. But I could see through his performance. Every compliment was calculated, every gesture designed to make me emotionally dependent. Vincent was good at what he did, I had to give him credit. He remembered details about my childhood, bought me thoughtful gifts, and made me feel like the center of his universe. If I hadn't known what he was, I might have fallen for it myself. The way he looked into my eyes when he spoke, the way he hung on every word I said, the way he made me feel like I was the most fascinating woman he'd ever met, it was all expertly crafted manipulation. After 3 weeks of this charade, I told him I wanted to keep our relationship secret from Chloe because she had a history of stealing my boyfriends. Then I invited him as my date to Mom's birthday dinner at Olive Garden, knowing exactly what chain reaction I was setting in motion. Vincent thought he was playing me, positioning himself to make me his next victim while adding Chloe as a bonus conquest. He had no idea he was walking into a trap I'd spent weeks perfecting. At Mom's birthday dinner, Vincent performed his role flawlessly. He treated Chloe like she was invisible while showering me with attention that felt genuine enough to fool everyone at the table. He complimented my chicken parmigiana choice, laughed at Dad's terrible jokes, and even brought Mom a beautiful bouquet of roses. But Chloe couldn't stand being ignored, especially by a man this attractive. She escalated exactly as I predicted, touching Vincent's arm when she talked, leaning too close when she laughed, whispering inside jokes only he could hear. Her flirtation became so obvious that even our oblivious parents started noticing. I excused myself to the restroom and watched through the slightly cracked door as Chloe moved in for the kill. "My sister's sweet, but she's pretty vanilla in every way," she whispered, running her finger along Vincent's forearm. "I could show you things she wouldn't even dream of trying." When I returned to the table and caught them exchanging phone numbers, I threw my glass of Pinot Grigio directly in Vincent's face and stormed out sobbing. The performance of a lifetime, complete with mascara running down my cheeks and my voice breaking as I called him every name in the book. Chloe called that night, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Vincent totally came on to me at dinner," she said. "But honestly, you're better off without him. Something about him seems really sketchy." Within 2 days, she was posting Instagram stories from his luxury condo in Cherry Creek. Within a week, she'd fallen head over heels for his lies. The trap had been set, and my sister had walked right into it. Within a month, Chloe had moved in completely with Vincent and given him access to her bank accounts for shared expenses. I watched it all unfold from the sidelines, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and growing uneasiness. Chloe was walking blindly into quicksand, and I was the one who'd pointed her in that direction. But after years of having my heart shattered by her selfishness, I couldn't bring myself to warn her about the danger she was in. Every time I felt a twinge of guilt, I remembered Connor's apartment, Chloe's naked smugness, years of watching my happiness crumble for her entertainment. The first crack in Chloe's perfect new life appeared 6 weeks later when a lawyer representing Vincent's ex-wife contacted her directly. Vincent had hidden assets during his divorce proceedings, and now Chloe could be held liable as an accomplice to fraud. "They're saying I might get sued too," Chloe called me, panic creeping into her voice. But Vincent explained everything. "His ex-wife is just bitter and trying to cause trouble." I made sympathetic noises while secretly knowing this was only the beginning. Vincent was following his established pattern perfectly. First came the legal threats, designed to make his victims feel like they needed his protection. Then came the financial manipulation. Next came the revelation that Vincent's investment firm was actually an elaborate Ponzi scheme. Chloe had already invested her entire $35,000 inheritance from Grandma Rose, convinced she was getting in on the ground floor of the next big cryptocurrency venture. When the SEC shut down the operation, her money vanished overnight. "It has to be a mistake," she sobbed during another late-night call. "Vincent's lawyers are fighting it. He says we'll get everything back, plus interest." But when Chloe tried to leave his condo after discovering more lies, Vincent showed his true colors. He grabbed her wrist so hard it left fingerprint bruises, then locked her in the bedroom while he raged about ungrateful women who didn't appreciate everything he'd done for them. When she finally escaped and tried to access her accounts, she discovered he'd emptied everything: checking, savings, even her 401k. Worse, he'd used her personal information to apply for credit cards and loans in her name, burying her under $85,000 in debt she never knew existed. The final blow came at dawn on a Tuesday morning when FBI agents broke down the door of Vincent's condo. They found Chloe's signature on dozens of fraudulent documents Vincent had tricked her into signing, making her an unwitting accomplice to securities fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. My phone rang at 6:47 a.m. Chloe's name flashed on the screen, but I let it go to voicemail. Chloe's voicemail was barely coherent through her sobs. "Lauren, please. I'm in Maricopa County Jail and they're saying I might go to prison. Vincent used me for everything and now the FBI thinks I was helping him. I know I hurt you, but please, I'm begging you. I need help." I listened to it 3 times before deleting it. The local news picked up the story within days. Local woman arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. Chloe's mugshot flashed across Channel 12's evening broadcast, her mascara streaked and her eyes hollow with devastation. The confident, predatory gleam I'd known all my life had been replaced by something broken and desperate. Mom called immediately, hysterical. "You have to help your sister. She made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve this." "She made her own choices," I replied calmly. "Just like she did with Trevor, Cameron, Alex, Derek, and Connor." The silence stretched between us before Mom whispered, "You knew, didn't you? You knew what he was." I didn't answer because the truth was too complicated for a simple yes or no. Had I known Vincent would destroy Chloe this completely? Not exactly. Had I researched him thoroughly enough to understand he was dangerous? Absolutely. Vincent's trial became front-page news in Denver. The prosecutor painted him as a sophisticated predator who had targeted over 30 women across multiple states, stealing more than $4.2 million over 8 years. During the proceedings, more victims came forward, each telling similar stories of manipulation, isolation, and financial destruction. I attended every day of his trial, sitting in the back row where Chloe couldn't see me. When she took the stand to testify against him, her voice was steady but hollow. She described how he'd made her feel special at first, like she was the only woman in the world who mattered to him. He isolated me from my friends and family, she said, tears streaming down her face. He made me believe I was worthless without him. Every time I questioned something, he'd turn it around and make me feel crazy for doubting him. The irony wasn't lost on me. Chloe was describing exactly what she'd done to me for years, just with different weapons. Chloe ended up pleading guilty to lesser charges in exchange for testifying against Vincent. She served 10 months in minimum security prison and emerged with a felony record, destroyed credit, and a restraining order that prevented Vincent from contacting her ever again. Vincent received 18 years in federal prison for his crimes. But the real punishment for both of them was just beginning. The family dinners stopped after Chloe's conviction. Mom couldn't look at me the same way, torn between horror at what I'd done and grudging admiration for my methodical revenge. Dad just shook his head whenever Chloe's name came up, muttering about natural consequences and chickens coming home to roost. Chloe moved across the country to Portland after her release, working as a barista at a small coffee shop and slowly rebuilding her life. We haven't spoken in 3 years, but I occasionally check her Instagram. She looks older now, more cautious. The confident, predatory gleam in her eyes has been replaced by something quieter and more uncertain. Her posts are different too. Gone are the selfies with stolen boyfriends and bragging about her conquests. Instead, she shares inspirational quotes about healing from toxic relationships and learning to trust again. The comments are filled with other women sharing similar stories of betrayal and manipulation. I've been in therapy for 2 years now, working through the complex emotions of orchestrating someone's downfall, even someone who'd hurt me repeatedly. My therapist, Dr. Patricia Williams, says revenge rarely brings the peace we expect it to. And she's right. I don't feel triumphant or vindicated. Mostly, I feel empty where all that anger used to live. The satisfaction I'd imagined would come from Chloe's destruction never materialized. Instead, I'm left with the knowledge that I deliberately led my own sister into the path of a dangerous predator. You were hurt and angry, Dr. Williams reminds me during our sessions. But you also made a choice to cause harm rather than heal the relationship or protect yourself in healthier ways. Sometimes I wonder if there was another way. Could I have confronted Chloe directly? Cut her out of my life without destroying it? Built boundaries instead of elaborate revenge plots? Maybe. But I also know that some people only learn through consequences. 6 months ago, I met someone new. David is a high school principal from Scottsdale, kind and steady in ways that make me believe in love again. I've told him everything about Chloe and Vincent, and he listened without judgment. You're not the same person who planned that revenge, he said, holding my hand across the dinner table at our favorite Italian restaurant. People grow. People change. The question is, who do you want to be now? I want to be someone who chooses healing over hurt. Someone who protects herself without destroying others. Someone who can love without fear of betrayal. Chloe got exactly what she'd been asking for her entire life, a man she couldn't resist. She just didn't expect him to resist destroying everything she held dear. As for me, I finally learned that the best revenge isn't elaborate schemes or public humiliation. It's living well, loving authentically, and refusing to let someone else's betrayal turn you into the villain of your own story. Some lessons can only be learned through complete devastation. My sister learned hers the hard way. And maybe in the end so did I.